Great. Okay, listen, Mike, thanks a million for joining us. And first of all, thanks a million for submitting the film to the festival. Just watched it there this morning, really enjoyed it. And I believe we've kind of got a connection as well. There's kind of a reciprocal relationship between the two festivals, which is great too.
That's great,
but,
yes.
Yeah, so we were talking just off air there that you have a job in a manufacturing company, isn't it?
Yeah. So my name is Mike Farragher, and I'm a filmmaker. I'm based here in New Jersey, and I'm sort of like a Clark Kent as you are, in that we have a dual identity, right? So I'm a vice president for a pharmaceutical manufacturing company here in New Jersey, and I travel internationally, and I service many of the drug manufacturers there. And I also do this. So I'm also a filmmaker. I'm an author of 6 books. We've had 2 off-Broadway plays that came from the books. And then from there, the idea that things that you've written down could then come onto a stage was an addictive bug for me. And then somebody came up to me during the plays and said, "I'm Black, and this Irish stuff is funny. Have you ever thought about making them into films?" And we produced our first film. So from being a novelist to being a playwright and now a filmmaker has been such an amazing journey and like a joy of my life. And I mean this like really from the bottom of my heart. The fact that the Dublin International Comedy Film Festival would realize the level of humor that I'm trying to achieve is such an honor. It just means so much to me because I really believe Ireland is the birthplace of humor. No, and it was just really, really, I'm telling you, of all the film festivals I've been in, this one's super special because to have your own clanspeople, so to speak, recognize the work has been, I can't thank you enough for it, really.
That's lovely to hear. Well, we're delighted to have you. Are you able to make the festival? Or are you?
I am. I'm coming. I'm flying in with my wife, and we're going to have a weekend of it. It's going to be a little Christmas holiday shopping plus that, and also one of the things I also want to share with everybody is that I've been working with the Dublin International Comedy Film Festival that we're actually going to be bringing some of the best films here to America. On March 9th, we have the Irish American Comedy Film Festival that is going to be at the Count Basie Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey. And that is a very large mecca of culture here in New Jersey. In fact, Bruce Springsteen was rehearsing there for his world tour. He was rehearsing in the theater, yep. And Little Steven Van Zandt is a board member, as is Charlie Puth. So it's it's just one of the epicenters of culture here in New Jersey. And my wife does some work with them. We're patrons of theirs. And I happened to be at a party with the chief marketing officer, and he was talking about how do I get people back into the film theater. And I said, I've just been involved in this great International Comedy Film Festival in Dublin. Maybe we can do something in Irish related in March. And I didn't even get that out of my throat before he said, "What day you want to do it?" So this past March we did it. It was a sellout. It was the biggest sellout they've had since they bought the theater.
God, that's great.
And they weren't allowing me out of the theater until I picked next year's dates. That's the true story. They were so impressed. So we are planning on having the best films from the Dublin International Comedy Film Festival. We're also going to have a live comedian. So we're basically trying to recreate what you guys have been doing over there and doing it over to America so that the filmmakers have a good chance of getting a U.S. audience and just sharing the work.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about
it. Yeah. Great idea. I mean, it's great to have a connection between the two. It's fantastic. So you are Irish.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah.
So because it was so successful this past year, we've taken some of the funding and the profits, and what we're doing is we are actually offering filmmakers an opportunity to come to the film festival. So some of the winners of the Dublin International Comedy Film Festival will actually be flown out to New Jersey, and they'll be put up for the night so that they can celebrate. We're going to have a Q&A with the filmmakers, and so we're hoping to make that an annual thing and have that be an annual prize for the Dublin International Comedy Film Festival.
That is some prize. That is fantastic. Yeah, I didn't know that. Wow.
We're really excited about it. Mo and I are kind of over the moon, and Cal as well. So
yeah, that is brilliant. God, that's so. What's your Irish connection?
So I'm a dual citizen. My mother is from Ballylanders, County Limerick, and my dad is from Athenry, County Galway.
Ah, all right, okay. And yeah, Ballylanders. Yeah, I know that they were. They won the hurling championship a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And also another connection. So I've loved my Irish culture for many years, and I wrote for the Irish Voice here in the city, New York City, and also I was the music writer for the Irish Voice. Hence the Hosier T-shirt. Obsessed with him.
Yeah.
And also I wrote for the Irish Central for many years. So those are two of the premier media companies that serve the Irish American community here in the States. So I wrote for them for 18 or 19 years. So I've been really passionate about my Irish culture, my Irish humor, and I grew up many summers in Ireland as well.
Oh yeah, in both Limerick and Galway, was it?
Correct. Yeah, spent weeks at a time there.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, very good. And yeah, so this film itself, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I just love that intro. Please let me introduce myself. I'm a man of what is it? Wealth and taste.
Taste. Yeah. I hope Mick Jagger doesn't sue me for copyright.
No, he probably. I suspect he might have nicked it from somebody else. You know?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great kind of overlap the themes there to kind of go on. Was that your first film? Did you say?
This is actually my third film, The Last Temptation of Mary. And it's based on my last book that I wrote, and the book is longer, obviously. So this is just a moment in time of it. But the last two books that I've written was The Last Temptation of Mary, and also A Devilish Pint. And The Devilish Pint came to me in a jet lag dream when I was in Belgium. I was reading this book on the plane called Conversations with God. And then I went to bed jet lagged, and in the middle of the night, I had this dream that Jack Nicholson type was on the hood of my car when I was in Mass. And he was on the hood of my car. And when I came down the stairs from church, he said, "Let's go to an Irish pub and I'll tell you how life really works." And it was a conversation with the devil that was really rich. Yeah. And it was so good, actually, that the book almost wrote itself. It really came from this dream. And then the second part of this, which is sort of a sequel or a prequel, I don't even know, is The Last Temptation of Mary. And that is the Blessed Mother of Jesus has come back down to earth. She was in an arranged marriage, of course, per the scripture, with Joseph. Yeah. And because she's the Queen of Love, she decided to come back down to earth and find love on her own terms. And the devil sees an opportunity that, hey, if I can maybe get that started, I'd find a pathway back to heaven. So they're kind of locked in this scenario. So, if you talk about the conversation with the devil plus this intertwine of the devil and Mary, this film, The Last Temptation of Mary, brings those two concepts together in a form in which the devil and the Blessed Mother are now at the bar fighting for the soul of a writer who may or may not be me. So that's kind of the impetus of how it got started. And I always like to write books and create things that a reader actually said this, which I'm going to steal from them, is that I try to make these kind of modern day parables for people that struggle with their faith and make it humorous and have you think about something at the same time. So I hope that film does that.
Yeah, I think it very effectively does that. All right,
Oh, thank you.
I think anybody who's ever written anything, anybody who's a writer as well, I mean, can identify with a lot of the stuff there. It's like sinning is being idle and not creating, you know?
That's what you just said in one sentence is my personal belief. If you could, what is Mike's spirituality in one sentence? You just said it.
Yeah.
And if that's what you got out of this, then I succeeded.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I write myself, and it's a common thing of, yeah, the self-judgment and all that kind of stuff that the devil is saying, you know. And there's a particularly funny quote. What is it? Yeah, the writer says, "The fear that I'll find out that I'm the worst, shittiest writer that ever lived," you know. Kind of, and I think the actor delivers it very well as well. He's kind of very. Yeah, like you certainly identify with him. He's a lovely kind of believable character.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll pass that on to him. He was great to work with. And what was such a joy in this as well is that Charlie DeFazio, who played the devil, and I wanted him to be sort of, if I couldn't get Jack Nicholson, I wanted to have like a fast talking Jersey guy.
He was the other guy I was going to ask you about, because like that guy is classic. I mean, he is brilliant.
He is great. He was brilliant. But what was such a joy about this was that Charlie is a friend of mine from college. Chris, who played the writer, friend of mine from college. So we've been out of college almost 40 years. So I've had a relationship. We acted in plays back in college 40 years ago. And to bring them back together and to collaborate with the two of them was a joy. And then Jared Glennon, who plays Mary, she acted in my first play. And ever since she acted in my first play, I wouldn't dare create something without her, because she's really a creative partner. She laughs at all my jokes, which is critical. And what I love about who I am as a writer and who I am as a producer is I want my script to be the baseline, like the bottom line. And I want the actors and the directors and everything else that's the baseline. I want you to take it to the next level. Unlike some people I know who it has to follow here and it has to be exact, and this is my exact vision. Unless you're really
up there, because I completely agree with you. Yeah, I find, and it's so common. It's almost like people say it as a kind of as a kind of a thing of honor. They say, well, I have a clear vision of what I want, and I want it exactly that way. And I completely agree with you that is the exact opposite of what art should be. It should be,
because it's the self-expression of the artist and the cameraman. You're just creating. Yeah. And again, there's many ways to skin a cat, so I'm not making anybody wrong here. But my personal view is that as the writer, you're creating something for other creatives to create. And I'll give you an amazing example of this. So my first film was called McLean Avenue, and it was based on all the shenanigans I saw in the music scene when I was a music writer for the Irish Voice. And Joe Rooney, who will also be at the Dublin International Comedy Film Festival, he was in it. And I was so freaking lucky to get him on this, right? He played a priest, so I actually got him in a collar. It was his first time since Father Ted on film, I think, that he was in a collar. But anyway, I wrote a sermon in the script, and I said to Joe, I said, the first sermon that you're going to say, I want you to do it word for word of what I wrote. And the second version, just free form. Because look, he's a comedian. I'd be stupid. I'd be stupid not to take advantage of him. You know what I mean? He's such a great comedian. Well, anyway, long story short, he created a sermon that was so much funnier than what I did, that we took his version. So had I not been open to another creator creating, I wouldn't have what I thought was a brilliant sermon in that film, because I didn't think of it. It was so much better than what I did. I thought mine was funny. It was funny, but he took funny to like way another level. So that really
Yeah.
taught me on my first film that you're creating, it has to be funnier, that you have to make it funny, but I'm inviting everybody else working on it to make it funnier than what
Do you
this
know,
is.
that's actually a good philosophy. Yeah, I've never heard it expressed that way, but I completely agree. Yeah, because, and particularly, I think if you write a character and then you cast it and you find great actors as you did, then those actors are inhabiting those roles. They know more about those characters than you do as a writer. So let them flourish, let them take it and enjoy it and see where they find it. And that certainly worked here, I think.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'll pass it on to the crew because again, I'm standing on the shoulder of some really good performances that got me into this festival, and I'm very aware of that. So I'm very grateful to be in the festival, and it's really the summation of some great creatives for sure.
Yeah, the Charlie DeFazio. I mean, just the name itself. Just
That's real. That's really his name, by the way. It's not a stage
really,
name, but he.
it sounds like a combination of the Fonz and I was, I was also kind of thinking, when I saw the bar, the American bar, I was thinking Ted Danson from Cheers,
Yeah.
and
Well,
he's got swagger and he's just
yeah, yeah.
confident.
Well, so a couple of comments on Charlie and then the bar. So first on
Mm.
the bar is my local pub, and
It looks like a great
I,
place.
I wrote my first book there.
Ah,
I wrote Devilish Pint there, like literally wrote it on like in the bar, some parts of it, and so it was that bar that we went into in which I had the dream for the Devilish Pint. So it was very significant and cool that I was able to work it out with the bar owner to film it there because it has a lot of personal significance to me as a writer. Excuse me. And then Charlie, Charlie and I have had a 40-year-old friendship, but over the last year, I'd say during the pandemic, we were using Marco Polo. I don't know if you know that app, but we're just sending each other video
no.
messages, and it's a video message app. And so he's a trainer in Florida, and he's always in the car, and he's driving while or parked in front of the gym when he leaves these messages, and he's always griping like, I just got cut off by this mother, and he's like, I'm telling people over here that, it's like, come on, I mean, like, move it along, you know what I mean? And that's my poor Charlie impression, but uh,
Yeah.
but I'm watching these, and I'm watching his eyebrows go up like Jack Nicholson, which again was the basis of Devilish Pint, and I just said to him, and he used to act in films and things like that. But I said to him, I said, would you fancy coming back in front of the camera again? And he's like, I really, really want to be creative again. I'm kind of doing this fitness thing, and I really want to be creative again. And that was really great. So he kind of clung to this. And then both Chris and Jer were going through some things personally at the time. So
Yeah.
they this was a respite or a relief from the things they were going through at the time. So each actor came here with an urgency of what was going on in their life. Like Charlie brought everything he had to this role because he really wants to kickstart his creativity again. And it was
Yeah. Yeah.
it's such an honor. Like, oh my God, that your words could do that for another human being. I'm almost moved to tears about it because that's what it's about as a writer.
Yeah. Yeah, he certainly entered into the spirit of that so much. I mean, the whole swagger, even the outfit, well, the kind of loud, outrageous shirt he was wearing, and the kind
And
of the bling.
he picked the shirt because the shirt had faces on it. He goes, I'd like to wear this shirt because I think it could be like all the souls that I accumulated along the way. And I'm like, oh, that's another example of what we said earlier. Like, I never would have thought of that. I'm like, yes, bring that shirt. He's showing it to me on Zoom, And then
Yeah.
one of the things I also wanted to do was, and this is really important to me, I hope it came off. I wanted him to have the swagger, but
Yeah.
one of the things that this is the anti-opposite of, I hope, is Lucifer, that's on Netflix. You know, Lucifer is this gorgeous guy, and he's the smartest guy in the room, and he, you know, I like the show, so I'm not bashing the show, but more often than not, when Jack Nicholson plays the devil or that guy from Lucifer plays the devil, they always have the upper hand. And in the book, I wanted it to be conveyed that the devil's saying, "Oh my God, this is like the big fish here. This is Mary. If I don't think I have a chance in hell at tempting Mary, but if I did, wow, that would be amazing." So I wanted Mary, Jared Glennon's character, to be like a cool hand Luke, like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. And she's so onto him, you know, and he's trying, that's amplifying his Jerseyness, like, "Hey, you know, you want to do a deal here? Come on, what do you think?" You know? And so
Yeah.
Jer, I have to say, she's from Neenah, County Tipperary.
All right.
She will do anything for a laugh. Like I would put her, I know this is high territory, but I would put her in the Lucille Ball territory of a physical comedian that will do anything for a laugh. So it was a bit of a challenge for her because I was like, I want you to play this one really subdued. You know, you're hanging back. You're like, I am so on to you. Bring your best. Is that the best shot you got? You know, so that was what I was trying to have her character do.
Yeah, even I noticed, even like when he kind of nonchalantly shouts "bartender," you know, clicks the fingers. I was waiting, and she didn't come over, you know, and it took about, you know, I was kind of going, did they forget about the bartender? And then she saunters over after about, you know, she ignores him for a while, you know. So like
that's so great. It's so great you got that. That's so good.
Yeah, from the very start, it was like, I'm not going to be at the beck and call of this guy. You know, he thinks he's the coolest guy in the room. But
I was hoping somebody would pick that up. That's so great.
Yeah, because like he sets himself up as such a dude. I mean, it's all of those kind of tropes that we would have grown up with American TV, as I said, like Ted Danson with Cheers, the Fonz, you know, the kind of smart detective type. I don't know, all of those rolled in together. That guy, like, he's really enjoying himself. You know, you could see it.
Yeah, he was good. And then there was little subtle things like at my kitchen table the night before. And again, this is again the creatives bringing something you wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah.
They thought like he wanted to have like the Keith Richards eyeliner all around his eyes, and almost like an Al Pacino thing. Al Pacino meets Keith Richards, and then Jer had an idea to like use a little bit of mousse in his hair so that actually his hair parts over here and it has little horns. But it's so subtle. But you know, what was fun was that when he put on the shirt that has so many of the faces on it, then he put the eyeliner on. Then they put the mousse in his hair and made little subtle horns the curls came up as horns. You know, I'm getting chills even talking about it because as a filmmaker, you're watching somebody embody a character at at that kitchen table right there. So that part of it was really, really fun. And then Mary, you know, Jer had, you know, we wanted her she wanted to be in blue, which I wanted her to be in blue. And then we wanted something, because in the book, she actually is Muslim, because that's, you know, they came from Jerusalem and everything else. So I wanted her to have not quite the hijab, but I wanted her to have some sort of a head covering that would be evocative of her. And plus, as a bartender, right, you know, you're putting a kerchief over your head to keep the grease and everything else from your hair. So it served as a bartender, and then it also served as the character. It was a throwback to what Mary probably would wear, some more or less. So again, Jer took her clothes, and right over there where I'm like next to where I'm standing now, she would do this fashion show. She said, "Okay, I have 3 looks. What do you think?" Blah blah blah. So again, for Jer and for Charlie to create their characters in my house, and then shoulder into the character once they had their clothes on. It's just so much fun. It's so great.
Yeah. It must have been brilliant, all right. Just seeing your characters come alive. Yeah. And there's almost kind of a Shakespearean thing about, Shakespeare would have a play within the play, and you have a book within the story of the book. And I was wondering, God, are these real books? And to find out that yeah.
Yeah, no, they are. Well, the other thing too is it's a shameless commercial for the two books.
Well, yeah.
So
great.
Yeah, and my last film, which the Dublin International Comedy Film Festival also hosted, was Love Letters Profiles, and I had started a dating profile writing business during the pandemic, and I got so many crazy dating stories out of it that I thought, oh my God, I have to make one of these into a script. So again, it wrote itself. It wins the London International Screenwriting Award. And I was like, oh, so I better produce this. So we produced it during the pandemic. So it doubly served as a short film and a commercial for the business. And this, I believe, I'm really proud of these two books because they weigh out some very spiritual issues in a funny way. And I thought I always thought when I wrote Last Temptation of Mary, is like, how do I connect these two? Because I see the connection, but I see a connection, but I don't know what it is. And then this is the fulfillment of answering that question. What is the connection between those two books? So.
Yeah. Oh, that must have been satisfying. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of autobiographical stuff in there. I mean, essentially, you have a writer getting two offers of a very, very different commissions. It's kind of like, I presume you've been there before where.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
there's always the question of always to publish or to self-publish. And I've had a couple of deals around publishing, and I also do a lot of writer classes, and I do a large book club here called Rise and Write. And I tell the aspiring writers all the time, I'm like, look, I don't care what anybody tells you. There's two kinds of writers: those that are trying to get a publishing deal, and those that are trying to get out of a publishing deal. So you get these charlatans, and I do mean charlatans in the book business, that are trying to sell you all these marketing services and everything else like that. So my email box is cluttered with that, and very astute of you to pick that up, because I was thinking everybody's trying to sell you something. When you're an author, it's like, oh, we can get you on the Today Show, and we can, all this stuff. So so it is a little bit autobiographical that an authors can be swindled very easily out of, you have to buy 300 copies of your book, and it stays in the garage for 3 years later. There's all these sorts of weird book deals. So I'm glad you picked up on it, because it is semi-autobiographical.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of irons in the fire. You've a lot of different things that you're involved in. You got the day job, and then writing, filmmaking. I mean, yeah. So you're a very busy guy by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it's busy, but it's also a balanced life. I'm also very proud, first and foremost, to be an active dad and to be involved in my children's lives, even though they're adult now. But especially because they're adult now and they don't really need the driving you to school kind of thing, that does create a void in your life, right? And so, and by the way, MikeFarragher.com is my website, and it has all those different things I'm involved in. So I've, again, written 6 books. I also have a dating profile writing business. I have a resume LinkedIn writing business. I started those during the pandemic. And then the filmmaking. So it is a busy life. And I also, one of the things that I'm really committed to doing is sharing this, because in your 50s, this is such an unlikely scenario to find myself in, that I'm on Teams with you talking about a film, and I'm flying to Dublin. Like everybody in their 50s should have this kind of life. So that's why when I do Rise and Write and I do my online Zoom classes for writing through Monmouth University, I want to give this life away. I want people to have this experience because life is short, and this has been the ride of my life. It's been incredible. And you know, and as we were talking before off camera, that I just was reading on the plane this Harvard Business Review compendium of articles called Managing Oneself. And almost every article says it from Harvard. And it's a balanced executive, it's a balanced leader that is a fulfilled leader that has the best chance of creating an effective workplace and all these other things. So I'm a believer in that. I'll tell one short story of the corporate America, but in my last job, my CEO, there was a bunch of chemists and biologists, and it was an organ transplant using the pieces of cadavers for research. That was the nature of the business, and it was an extensive writing process and a recruiting process. And I was so over my head because I didn't understand any of these technical terms. And I was with the CEO, and I'm like, "Why did you hire me? How did I get this job?" I'm asking because I'm so over my head. And he said, "I have enough scientists." He said, "But you're a writer, and we need to tell the story of this company." And he said, "I wanted to put a human chemist in the middle of actual chemists to see what would happen." And I thought that was the best articulation of the value of a truly creative person can bring to business, is that you're a human chemist that can negotiate with people. You can bring a level of creativity that other people don't have. And candidly, because I post all my films and stuff on LinkedIn, if the company doesn't like it, fire me, because I'm not in the right place then, because it really is a value to bring all of those different things you're into. I have a business mind where I keep things under budget and we do things very efficiently in my films. So the film benefits from my business life. And I don't need 10 cups of coffee to wake up in the morning to go to work because I'm fulfilled. So, both sides of the coin wins if you manage your life that way.
It's great to have that balance, because there's a lot of debate about that in Ireland at the moment, and probably everywhere, is that whether you can be an artist or, as people would say, get a real job, and it's either one or the other kind of thing. And you either go into the rat race or you starve as an artist. It seems to be that way in Ireland. And there's a lot of talk about I think people are getting sensible about the workplace as well. It was a case where, and it still is to a degree, where you dedicate your life to work. A lot of people do, and they don't have any time to produce things. For instance, you talked about 2 books there. There's so many people walking around with a book in their head that never gets published, which is a terrible shame.
Well, this is probably the subject of a whole other podcast, but I do also a lot of speaking. One of my books is called "This Is Your Brain on Shamrocks," and it's about.
I love that. I'm going to bring that up.
It's about the impact of an Irish mother's guilt on your life. And so when I was hungover and I lived at home, and my mother would knock on the door and she'd say, "It's time to go to mass," and I'd be like, "Mom, mass is not going to happen." And my mother would say in her Irish accent, "Well, I'm sure the Lord Jesus Christ didn't want to get up the day he died for your sins." So it's like that Irish guilt. So anyway, I speak to a lot of Irish groups, Daughters of Ireland, Friendly Sons of the Shillelagh here in the States. And I firmly believe that Irish are innate in their DNA storytellers. And so few of us end up writing novels, or like Hosier making albums or making films, because there's also a thing that's inherent in Irish culture, not to make a show of yourself, and don't make a show of what the neighbors would think. And also when I was younger and I expressed being an interest in writing, they're like, that's great, but get a real job, of course. We're not sending you to school for that shite, so that kind of thing. So I think in the Irish culture, between not making a show of yourself in front of the neighbors and that's not a real job, that it's somewhat harder for a storyteller to overcome that noise in your head to actually do it. So for anybody that's shoulder to shoulder with me at the Dublin International Comedy Film Festival, whether you win or not, the fact that you were able to go above those voices and persevere is, you're already a winner. I know that sounds canned, but I do believe that.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, because there are so many, and I have friends kind of like what you just mentioned there about your two very good friends there who have great talent, and you manage to bring them in and bring them back after years of maybe not expressing art. I have friends who are so talented in terms of humor and in terms of creativity, and they talk about maybe doing things, and it's a terrible shame that they don't for whatever reason, But actually, what you were just saying there about not making a show opposite the neighbours, it is a very Irish thing too. Yeah, and it reminded me of a John B. Keane, the writer. I don't know if you know of him, but I think he's dead now, but he was based in Kerry, and he wrote a number of novels over the years. Really great writer, based in Listowel in Kerry, and he had a pub, and so he was a publican and a writer, and he said he was being interviewed one time, and he was very successful. He wrote 20, 30 books, but despite the success, his own people brought him down to earth, because he was saying he was upstairs in the pub one time, and he could hear the lads in the pub downstairs, and they were saying, that guy John B., what he does is he listens to what we say, writes it down, and then charges us to read it.
Well, I mean, that's a good writer, right? That's a good writer.
Yeah.
Exactly. I will share with you that I picked up a pen because of Frank McCourt and Angela's Ashes. There was just and he's from Limerick, like my mom is. So there's something in there that just inspired me to pick up a pen. And I was fortunate enough to interview Frank prior to his death. So I got to tell him all this, right? Yeah, no, it was great. But here's what I wanted to share with you. 1997, he comes out with Angela's Ashes. First book out of the gate, wins a freaking Pulitzer, right? Yeah. I got to interview him prior to his third book, Teacher Man. I was like, hey, congratulations, you got your third book going, and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, geez, I hope people are going to pick it up and read it. And you're like, how can a man that won the Pulitzer, which is the highest literary form, still have those doubts and fears? I think it's innate to be Irish to have that, where it's human being as well, of course, but I think the Irish have an amazing dose of it. So, but speaking of pubs, I was in a pub not long ago, and it's really centered me now. There was a quote from Samuel Beckett that says, perhaps the best years are gone, but I wouldn't want them back, not with the fire in me now.
The fire in me now. Yes, I love that quote. Yeah.
And I think what is so truly amazing about having to come across the pond and meet you and be with everybody in a few weeks is that, this is not the normal pathway of a guy in his mid-50s, like the fire's in me now. And this is it's so much fun when most people are looking at retiring and slowing down. To have this kind of a life that you and I have is precious, and it's a gift, and it's very much what Samuel Beckett says.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, by the sounds of it, you're only getting going. You're only getting fired up, which is fantastic.
It's so great is that Netflix has broken ground on their East Coast production facilities 8 miles from my house.
No way. Oh, wow.
And I've been saying for years that I'm too fat and old to chase Hollywood. It's got to come to me. And here we are. So, like, who knows? I mean, I have as much
Yeah,
chance as I have as much chance as anybody else, and they're coming to my doorstep. I have some film ideas. Let's talk. So
brilliant. Yeah,
any,
yeah.
anybody from Netflix that is watching this, come get me.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh God, Mike, it's been fascinating chatting to you, and delighted that you're coming to the festival. So we'll get to chat some more.
I'm playing Saturday night, I believe, in the block 6, I think it is. It's Saturday night anyway, and I think it starts at 5:30. I got some
Right.
relatives at 5 o'clock. I got some relatives coming from Ireland, from Galway, across the train to see it, and
Oh,
can't
brilliant.
wait to meet you, and I can't wait to meet everybody else. It's going to be at the festival.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, it should be brilliant. Listen, thanks so much for having the chat. Really enjoyed it.
I really
And
enjoyed it as well. I can't wait to
yeah,
meet you.
absolutely.
We'll be
Yeah.
having a pint, right?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely.
All right, bud. Take care.
See you. Mike. Bye.
All right, have a good one. See ya.
Great one.